Amy with Fashion Toppings here, and how many of you have bags like this sitting around your house? I didn't realize how many of these things I had until I started trying to clean and organize my pantry. And so I did it for our little farmhouse out in the back of our property, and I made one of these. You've all seen them. They're the little bag holders. It's got this string up above to hang it wherever you need to, but it's skinny, so it holds a lot of bags, but it also hides very well behind a door. Hiding is the key. But it's pretty too. So the top opens up so you can stuff it full of bags. The bottom's nice and tight where you can then pull your bags out as you need them one by one. So let's go ahead and make one of these. The size fabric that I use for this piece, this is actually 20 inches by 16 inches. And that made this tall, skinny little bag holder, 20 by 16. And we're gonna make another one because I love these. And if I have one on each floor and then one at the farmhouse, I will no longer have to worry about coming across these hidden in closets, in storage areas, and storage rooms, and pantries. I don't want to find these anymore. I want to find these looking nice and neat. So let's go ahead and start making them. Okay, so I decided I'm going to use the same fabric. And I'm just going to make it a couple inches bigger. So I'm going to make it 22 by 18. I'm going to measure up 22 inches. Like I said, it doesn't matter which direction I go because my pattern is random. So I'm going to go 22 inches from the edge. And I'm gonna make a snip. Okay, the nice thing about this fabric is I'm not gonna worry about using scissors. I'm just gonna tear it on the grain. It'll cut, tear in a straight line. So much easier than using scissors. Okay, so I have, let's see, make sure I got which direction it goes. Okay, that's the 22 inches. So now I need to go across. I'm gonna go 18 inches, just because I just want it to be a little bit bigger, not much, but a little bit bigger than the one I just made. Okay, I'm gonna make a snip at 18 inches. Because I like how skinny these are, long and skinny. They fit perfect behind a door. Okay, so I made a snip at my 18 inches and tear. Okay, now I gotta cut my little strings off. Okay, or you can cut it with scissors, whichever you prefer. I think it's fun to tear it. Okay, so I got it facing the right direction for you. Now, I wanna show you, first thing, we're gonna be making this channel at the top for the string. The string, pull up here. The string comes out of the channel, so you can tighten it and loosen the top as much as we want. But in order for that string to come out, it's not like elastic where you can hide it in the casing. We need to have, I don't know if you can see this or not, we need to make sure that these edges are hemmed. And I'm gonna show you how we do that. Okay, we're gonna do that by flipping this to the wrong direction. Okay, and then I'm going to be doing a double rolled hem on each side. And it's gonna be a very thin double rolled hem. Okay, so this is my 22 inch long sides, 22 inch that way. There we go. And what I need to do is, I need to do a double rolled hem towards the wrong side of the fabric, just so we have a finished edge. And there we go. Nice and thin. I'm gonna show you close up in here in just a second. Let me just get this started. And I gotta make sure I got my pins going in the right direction. Okay, so we're just doing a double rolled hem up the whole side. And it's kind of awkward, but I'm putting my pins in this direction, imagining how I'm putting it through the sewing machine so my pin, the heads of my pin don't get caught underneath the foot of my sewing machine. So I'm just paying attention to which direction I put my pins in. Just doing a double rolled hem all the way down the long sides. Sometimes I don't even pin it. I just will roll it as I go while it's going through the sewing machine. Okay. So we got a double rolled hem going down the side. I'm gonna do it to the other side as well. But this serves as two purposes. The double rolled hem is one, it's gonna make sure our edge doesn't fray. And two, we're gonna be putting a casing up here at the top so that our string can come through. But this open edge right here that the string is gonna be coming in and out of, it needs to have a finished edge. So by doing the double rolled hem up the side, see, it's gonna finish that right there so that when we fold it to make a casing, the casing opening is gonna be finished. The edges will be finished. That's why we're doing each side. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing the double rolled hem down this side and down this whole side, this direction right there too. Okay, so let's go ahead and take it to the sewing machine and I'll show you how to do the stitch down the double rolled hem. Okay, so I got my fabric on here. This is my double rolled hem all the way down this edge right here. I've got it underneath my foot and I have my needle in the down position. I always sew with my needle in the down position. Okay, I'm gonna do a back stitch and a forward stitch to lock in my thread, and I am doing a straight stitch. So I go forwards and then I'm gonna go backwards just a little bit to lock in that stitch. Okay, and back to forward again. Okay, I'm gonna sew all the way down the edge. Oops. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the camera. Okay, and I'm gonna keep sewing right down, all the way down to the end. And getting to the edge, we're gonna do a back stitch to lock in that stitch. And forward. That's what I'm talking about when I'm referring to a double rolled hem. So this side will be nice and neat. It won't fray and it's all finished. Okay, I need to do this to the other 22-inch long side. I'm gonna do that next and I'll be right back. Okay, so my long sides are all hemmed, but now I got my 18-inch side, and this fabric frays. So I'm just gonna run this under the sewing machine, this edge right here, real quick. I'm just gonna run under the sewing machine with a zigzag stitch. That will keep it from fraying or falling apart on me after some use. So I'll show you close up. Okay, hopefully you can see it from this side. Okay, it's gonna go back and forth on the fabric, off the fabric. Get to the end and do a back stitch or a fixed stitch. I'll do a back stitch. Okay, forward. Okay. Okay, this is as close as my camera's gonna let me get without it staying in focus. I don't know if you can see this little edge here, the zigzags, the gold stitching right there. That I did a zigzag stitch all the way down my fabric, and that's just gonna help prevent this from fraying any farther. So that's a zigzag stitch. Okay, so here's my fabric. I have my hemmed edge all the way down here. I got my zigzag stitches on the bottom and the top. So the 18-inch sides have zigzag stitches. My 22-inch long sides have the double rolled hem. Okay, so now I'm going to fold it in half. So right sides are touching. Okay, I'm gonna take it to the sewing machine and I'm gonna be sewing a straight stitch down this side, closing this in. But there's a trick to this. Okay, since the top, I'm gonna go ahead and use this as an example. This side is gonna be the top. It doesn't matter if this side's the top or that side's the top. One side has to be the top, of course. Since it's gonna have a string that is gonna have a loop coming out so we can hang it up. So this side is gonna have to be done differently. We're gonna need to leave it open. So what I'm gonna do as a reminder is I'm gonna take a pin, and my casing, I'm gonna give it an inch. Okay, so 1 inch down from my corner here, 1 inch down, I'm gonna put a pin, just like that. I don't know if you can see that. I put a pin right here, and that's telling me that when I do my straight stitch starting here, I'm gonna do my straight stitch all along this edge, and then boom, when I get to that pin, I have to stop. I'm not gonna close the rest of it because we need to do something different because we're gonna be having a string coming out of this to hang it up. Now at the bottom, it doesn't matter. We're gonna make a casing and put elastic in it. So we're gonna start all the way from the bottom. We're not putting any pins down there. We're gonna start right at the bottom, and we're gonna sew all the way up a straight stitch and then stop when we get to our pin. Okay, so I'm gonna start, here's my pin, right there. I'm gonna start right at my pin, make it easier. I'm gonna start right at my pin, drop my foot down, take the pin out. That's just easier so I don't forget. I'm gonna put my needle in the down position, and I'm going to sew. I'm gonna sew right along, just right along this lip of the double rolled edge. That double rolled hem, I'm gonna sew just right along the edge of it and use that kind of like as a guideline. And I'm doing a straight stitch, okay? You do your back stitch. Okay, next, let's go ahead and start, we'll work on the bottom first. Now the top, remember, we didn't sew all the way up to the edge. That's our top, that'll always be our top. Now the bottom, we're just going to fold. We're gonna keep it, we're still inside out, wrong side of the fabric. We're gonna fold and make a casing for the elastic. So I'm just gonna fold it. I'm using all scrap fabric, or scrap elastic and everything. Okay, so you're just gonna make sure that your casing is larger than your elastic. So I guess 1.5 inches is good. Okay, so I got my casing 1.5 inches. See, a fold of 1.5 inches, which is gonna make the casing for the elastic. But I'm gonna have to also leave a spot open so that I have a place to feed my elastic through. So I like to do that right where there's a seam. So right here I got my side seam. So I'm gonna put 2 pins in. I usually like to do an X. There's 1. I know these kind of match my fabric. And 2, I make an X with the pins. That is telling me do not, from here to here, don't sew it shut, because we're gonna need a way to feed the elastic in and go around the casing. So I put 2 pins there, letting me know not to sew it completely shut. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide this onto my sewing machine. Okay. And I'm gonna use a straight stitch. And I'm gonna stitch all the way around the casing. Needle in the down position. Okay. And do my forward stitch and back stitch. Back stitch. Okay, forward stitch again, and I'm gonna go all the way around. Okay, now I'm coming around to, here's my side seam right here. See that little side seam is right here? I have my pins up here, that's telling me to stop. So as soon as I get to that pin, I'm gonna stop. Okay, and I'm gonna do my back stitch to lock in that stitch. Okay, and put up. Okay, next, I'm going to put a safety pin through my elastic. This is gonna help me feed it through. Okay, I'm gonna find my opening, which is right at my side seam. I'm gonna find my opening here, and I'm going to feed the elastic through. And I'm gonna work it all the way through and around the casing. Okay, So there you go, I had the elastic fed through. However, we want this hole to be nice and tight because our bags, this is where we're gonna be pulling out the single bags from. And so we don't want the bags falling out, but we want it tight enough so that the bags stay inside and then I can pull one out at a time. So I'm just going to shrink this down. And I'm gonna eyeball how tight I'm gonna want it. I'm just tightening up this little, I'm pulling the elastic out so it's tightening the little hole up. And I'm thinking that that's probably pretty good. That is about a 2 inch opening, a 2 inch in circumference, you know, 2 inches all the way around. So from edge to edge here, that's 2 inches. Okay. So now I need to sew my elastic together. First of all, feel in here, make sure that in your casing, your elastic is not twisted. Then we need to, I'm gonna have to cut this a little shorter. Okay, so I have it laying on top of each other, just like that. And I'm gonna take it to the sewing machine and I'm just gonna do a zigzag stitch all over this area, just back and forth in any direction. I'm just doing zigzag stitches to secure that. There's not gonna be a lot of tugging and pulling on it, so you don't have to worry about too many of the stitches. Just get a few on there. Making sure it's flat. Okay. And I'm gonna do a zigzag stitch. And I'm just gonna go back and forth. Making sure my fingers are out of the way. You have to be very careful with this part. And it's going back and forth. Okay, that's good enough. Put up. Trim it. This doesn't have to be pretty because this is going to be inside. Okay, so you can see I just went, it's focusing. I just went back and forth several times to secure it. Zigzag stitch, it's nice and tight. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pull on my elastic and have this pop right back into the casing. There we go. Okay, so all the elastic is in there, but I still have my opening here. I need to shut that now. Okay. You can either do it by hand or you can put it under the sewing machine. I'm gonna, of course, put it underneath the sewing machine. Okay, let's slide it on. See, I just slid it on my plate here. Get it so the opening is at the beginning. Okay, and I'm gonna do a straight stitch. Okay, forwards. And back to lock it in. Okay, and now I'm gonna close in that hole. Oops, gotta go forwards. Okay, when you get over the seam, that's a lot for your sewing machine sometimes, so go slow. Okay, now close the hole. Now I gotta do a back stitch. Okay, it's done. Oopsie. Put up. Okay, so now my bottom's done. Now we need to do the top. Now remember, we left this little opening. See at the top, we had this little opening, but it's hemmed on both sides. So both sides, this opening is gonna be nice and neat. We're gonna do the same thing as we just did with the elastic, but a little bit different. Okay, so we're gonna fold it down. Fold it down about 1 inch. I'm using a string, so I don't need much room, but fold it down about 1 inch. So we do the same thing as we did with our elastic, folded it down 1 inch, but look at, see this area here? We're keeping this open because the strings are gonna go in it. So what we're gonna do now, so we got folded over, here we go. So we have it folded over the 1 inch. We're gonna slide it. Okay, we slid it under our foot and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna sew all the way around making the casing. And my opening is right here. That's where I've got it, the hemmed edges. So we're gonna pinch those so they stay nice and straight. Okay, and on this one, we don't need to leave the casing open like we did with the other one because we're not feeding something through and then closing it up. We have our openings because that's why we didn't sew all the way to the top. That's why we have the 2 finished edges. You'll see in just a minute. So we don't have to put our little needles in here reminding us to stop. We can go all the way around. We don't have to worry about it. Okay. Okay, all the way around in our back stitch. Okay. Okay, so now we have our casings. The top has the opening for, we're gonna feed a string through there. The bottom, we already put the elastic in. There's our casing from the elastic. So now what we need to do is turn it inside right. Okay, so it's a little bag. Now I have a string here, it's about 30 inches long. I won't need that much string, but I will trim it when I get done. I'll see how much I'm gonna want when I get done. Okay, and then I'm going to tie a little knot at the end. Just tying a little knot. And I'm gonna put my threading needle through, or my safety pin through it so I can feed it through. If I didn't tie that knot, the string would just fray and fall apart. As you can see how it frays? So I tie a knot in it so that I have something for the safety pin to attach to. Okay, now I'm gonna go to one of my openings. It's on the inside. And I'm gonna feed the same, make sure my safety pin is closed. I'm gonna feed the string through there, just like I did with the elastic. Now I'm gonna feed the string through my openings. The string is a lot easier than the elastic. It's quick. Now for this, you can use ribbon, you can use elastic, you can, I mean, it's endless. You can make matching straps to go through it, like a long string. You can do all of that. You can do whatever you want the looks to be. And I just like using these ropes because I get them at estate sales all the time. They're for like reupholstering, you know, furniture and stuff. That's what I use it for, and for making pillows. So I have a ton of it, so I would rather use that. I always rather use something I have on hand than go buy something new. Okay, I'm gonna keep feeding this through and I'll be right back and show you how it looks. Okay, so now that I got fed through, now we can go ahead and start feeding the bags in. So let's fill this full of bags. Okay, so now that we have this all done, I know it's dark in here, I'm doing this late at night, but I made one for myself and then I wanted to make another one, so I figured I may as well show you. So yeah, it's late at night, but I'm doing it anyway. So here you go, my string. Here's my opening. Let's go ahead and get rid of this bag. Now when you're filling this, make sure you're doing it one bag at a time. That way when you're pulling the bags out this side, you're not gonna get a bunch of them coming out because they're inside of each other. They are all separate from each other. So put one bag in at a time. Okay, we got them all in there. There we go. And I still have room for more. Okay, so now what we're gonna wanna do is just tighten up this top a little bit. And there's still room for me to shove bags in here. So we're leaving it just a little bit open so I have room to shove some bags in there. I'm gonna tie this in a knot. I just tied it in a little knot. That's gonna keep the string from accidentally getting fed back through our hole and coming loose. So I tied it in a knot so that this is secure. And then I'm going to tie, I'm not a sailor, so I don't know a sailor's knot, but I'm just going to tie another knot, but I'm gonna leave this little bow here. And I'm sure there's a fancy way to do this for those of you who know how to tie knots, but I am just gonna do what I know how to do, and it's nothing fancy. Now I have a little loop that I can place on a hook and hang this in my pantry. There we go. So that's much better. Okay, now when you need a bag, you take them one at a time out of the bottom. And it's nice and skinny. I'm gonna show you the size difference. So not really, just by doing, okay, this one right here, it's really skinny and it was 20 by 16. So 20 inches tall by 16 inches wide. That's how big my fabric piece was for this. And this one, look at how much plumper it is. This one is 22 inches by, I think we said 18. I'll go back and double check. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind, I am not an expert sewer. I am not a seamstress. So before you get mad at me for doing this a certain way or not doing it a certain way, I am a self-taught sewer. And if I need something done or made around the house, I figure out a way to do it. And so it may not be the most professionally trained way of doing it, but the great thing is I save money, I'm very frugal, and I find a way to get it done and get it done nice and neat and looking pretty. So like I said, I'm not an expert sewer, I'm not a professional seamstress. I just like to dabble with sewing and figure out a way to get it done. I had a problem, I had tons of these bags all over the place, it was driving me crazy. So I made one, really had fun doing it, so I decided to make another one to show you. And that's all there is to it. Okay, well this is Amy with Fashion Toppings. Until next time, I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.